Today we want to try and beat every single Pokemon champion, and there is a lot of them, as Giovanni. What if the evil leader of Team Rocket decided to try and conquer every single region? With mainly rock-type Pokemon and a Persian at his disposal, could we do it? If we make it past every champion, Giovanni has located 3 extremely powerful trainers. He must take down 2. If a Pokemon faints, it's gone from the whole run, and I can't use any items in battle either. Full rules are in the description below. Let's get started. First up is Pokemon Fire Red, and we have the champion for this game, Blue. We have some extremely powerful Pokemon in Nidoking and Nidoqueen, but we have some massive weaknesses, especially to Blue's Blastoise. Blue's lead is Pidgeot, and we lead off with Giovanni's iconic Pokemon Persian. We are just a standard normal type cat, but we have access to Stab Fake Out, so that's what we start the battle with, flinching Bear Jesus. The second turn we hit a maximum return for fantastic damage as we critical hit for a 1-hit knockout. Second, Blue sends out Alakazam. With it being extremely frail, I decide to stay in and return again, and Persian lands yet another 1-hit knockout. So far so good. Now is an issue though, Executor. We don't have many great switch-ins, so Persian hits an Aerial Ace that doesn't even do half, as the Giga Drain does half back to us and heals Executor. That's not great. I then decide to swap to our Nidoqueen, as I have no idea what Executor will do. Next, he misses an Egg Bomb, thankfully on the swap. Nidoqueen hits a massive Sludge Bomb, just missing out on the knockout as we get put to sleep. Blue now full restores, so we burn some turns of sleep. We then get hit by a Giga Drain, but we take it reasonably well. Then we wake up and throw Sludge at the 3-headed eggplant again, as a Giga Drain puts us below half. One more Sludge Bomb to the face, and that's another threat taken care of. Blue then sends out his ace and strongest Pokemon, Blastoise, and I'm scared, I won't lie. We have one switch in, and that's Kangaskhan. We get smashed by a Hydro Pump on the swap, still doing nearly half to us. The next turn we outspeed, and a return is doing fantastic damage, and thankfully Blastoise misses a Hydro Pump, but thanks to his berry, he lives the next return and sets up the rain, boosting Hydro Pump even more. Blue now full restores, but we bring him back to half with another return. With a final attack, Kangaskhan has took down Blastoise and showed its value already to the team. Rhydon is Blue's 5th choice. Nothing on my team can really take an Earthquake, so I stay in an Ice Punch, but our special is poor, so it doesn't do too much, as he just scary faces lowering our speed. We still outspeed, so we deliver another Freezing Punch to him as he scary faces again. Now he is faster, and an Earthquake puts us on a Sliver as he survives yet another Ice Punch. The heal is coming, so we've got to switch to probably the bulkiest defensively Pokemon I have, Rhydon. With Rhydon's fantastic attack stat, we take him out with just one single Earthquake. This leaves one Pokemon left, and that's an Arcanine. We tank a Flamethrower fantastically, and we don't get burned. We shake the ground, putting Arcanine on literally 1 HP. Blue full restores, but this time we get a better roll, taking down Arcanine and beating our first champion. But there's plenty more to fight and more champions for us to conquer. Let's move to Johto. Lance is the champion of Johto, and the next we face. With Nidoqueen's coverage and having access to Ice Beam, we can probably just sweep, but you never know with the threats he has. Lance leads off with Gyarados, and we lead off with Nidoqueen. We are faster being at the level cap, and a 4-time super effective Thunderbolt just takes him out in one attack. Second, he sends out a Dragonite. We outspeed, and an Ice Beam just demolishes the first of his dragons. His second Dragonite, his ace, dies to one Ice Beam too. His third Dragonite is the same story, one Ice Beam, one knocked out dragon. Fifth is his Charizard. It actually survives a Thunderbolt and retaliates with a pitiful Shadow Claw. One more Thunderbolt and we're on his last Pokemon already, a Aerodactyl. We get hit by an Aerial Ace for a good chunk of damage, and then we Ice Beam. We don't take it out, but we do freeze him. Lance now burns all the 4 restores in the world, but eventually he runs out. He hits an Aerial Ace to put us on 64 HP, and we take him out of an Ice Beam for what's probably the easiest fight we are going to have in a long while. There is a Hoenn champion I'm super scared of, but Giovanni isn't, and he's coming soon. Let's head to Hoenn. In Pokemon Ruby, Steven is the champion. He has mainly rock and steel types. Honestly, we do match up super well versus him, so I'm not sure this should be too difficult either. Steven's lead is Skarmory, and we lead off with our MVP of the run so far, Nidoqueen. A Thunderbolt brings Skarmory super low and paralyzes him as he breaks through and sets up a layer of spikes. This hurts us every time we switch Pokemon. Steven now full restores, but we just bring him back down with an electric attack. With a final Thunderbolt, we take down the first of Steven's Pokemon. Claydol is Steven's second choice, and and I don't see a reason to swap while we're still at full HP. I stay in and fire off a Surf that does huge damage to Claydol as he for some reason sets up a Reflect. This means there's no reason to swap and we can take him out with a final water type attack. The next Pokemon Steven sends out is Aggron, and it's got a very poor special defense. One more Surf and one more knocked out Pokemon. Armoldo the ancient bug is out and we hit another Surf, this time not taking it out as then he hits a weak Water Pulse doing about 25% to us. Steven full restores, but we just spam Surfs. We take out the ancient bug and Nidoqueen is proving that it's a monster. However, Metagross is out now, Steven's ace, and this thing has the potential to be a big issue. I stay in Surf and we do good damage, but an Earthquake takes Nidoqueen all the way to 26 HP. That was really close. We've got to switch, so into Kangaskhan I go. We get hurt by spikes, then a Psychic does a little amount to us too. We can't hurt this thing at all actually, so I decide to swap into Rhydon, and we luckily dodge a Meteor Mash on the swap. Metagross then connects a Meteor Mash, taking us to 71 HP, as a single Earthquake is enough to finish him off. This leaves his last Pokemon, Cradily. I swap to Persian as not many things can deal with this too well, and we take a Giga Drain doing close to half to us. We fake out for some good chip damage, flinching Cradily. Now I go for an Iron Tail and we just miss out on the knockout as Cradily throws rocks at our cat, putting us low. With a final Iron Tail attack from Persian, we take down Cradily, beating Steven. But there's one more champion in Hoenn to face, and he might be one of the hardest. Our second champion for Generation 3 is Wallace. Honestly, I'm pretty worried. I do have some sort of a strategy here, so if we get through this Deathless, I will be proud. Wallace's lead is a powerful Wailord, and we lead off with Kangaskhan. There's only one reason I'm doing that, and that's his access to such a good move pool, including Sunny Day. So turn 1, that's what we set up, as a Double Edge does a good chunk to us. The next turn, we fire off a Solar Beam. It does good damage, but it puts him in the red as he sets up the rain. Wallace full restores his Wail, and we hit 100% accuracy Thunder thanks to the rain, and then we're paralyzed, which is perfect. I Sunny Day again now, and Wailord gets Parahax, which is the best RNG we can hope for. We then Solar Beam again to take out the first of his Pokemon. Second, Wallace chooses Tentacruel. I swap to Rhydon as we take a weak Sludge Bomb. Then Tentacruel hits a Hydro Pump, and even in the sun we barely hang on with a Slither, 10 HP to be exact, before we fire off a powerful Earthquake to take down his second Pokemon. This is rough already. Third is Milotic, and we have 0 answers, or maybe we have 1, Giovanni's Persian. We swap into him as a sun reduced Surf still hurts us. We then fake out for a nice chunk of damage, flinching Milotic. A Return also is doing fantastic damage as Milotic poisons us, putting us on a timer. He then heals with his berry a little bit too. It's going to be close if we can take him out, but thankfully we do take him down, and then we take some more toxic damage. Out next is Ludicolo. I have Aerial Ace, which always hits, and we do over half as he thankfully double teams. This means we take him out with one more Aerial Ace, and then Whiscash comes out. Toxic damage puts us on 25 HP. If Ludicolo would have hit us once, we lost Persian there. On Whiscash, I swap back to Kangaskhan. It's the reason I left him at high HP. We take an Earthquake decently on the swap. With no sun, I go for Sunny Day and take an Earthquake to 24 HP. Then, with a 4 times effective Solar Beam, we can take down Whiscash. This leaves Wallace's last Pokemon, Gyarados. I swap to Nidoqueen on the Earthquake and we take over half on the switch. I then pray we outspeed, and we do, and a final Thunderbolt means we take down Gyarados and we beat Wallace deathless. I'm super surprised, but we did have some luck, and I think I played that fantastically. With Hoenn conquered, it's time to move on to Sinnoh. Cynthia is the champion of the Sinnoh region. Her team is very scary. I do think we have the coverage with our Pokemon, but we have to play smart again to try and not lose one here. Cynthia's lead is Spiritomb, and we lead Dugtrio for the first time. We set up Stealth Rocks to chip away at her team, and we take a Dark Pulse to below half. I decide to risk it and stay in an Earthquake, doing fantastic damage as she Omnius wins, meaning we survive, and Dugtrio sees another day. Then Dugtrio picks up his first knockout with an Earthquake. Second is Milotic, and I feel confident going to Persian as we take an Ice Beam to the face. We then fake out for great damage and Milotic flinches. A Stab Return brings her to the red as she sets up an Aqua Ring, healing her out of the red, meaning Cynthia doesn't full restore, and we're safe to take it down with a final return. This brings out Lucario. The fighting move is definitely coming, so I swap to Nidoking as we eat it. We then fire off a Stab Earthquake to take Lucario down in just one attack. Now is a problem, however, Garchomp. We only have one safe switch into an Earthquake, and that's Kangaskhan, as we're just above half HP. We then fake out for a little bit of damage and flinch him too. The next turn, we outspeed and a 4 times effective Ice Punch after Rocks 2 seals the deal and her ace is down. Cynthia's next Pokemon is Togekiss. I swap to Nidoqueen Queen as an Aura Sphere doesn't really do anything to us. We then Ice Beam, bringing her low, and we get hit by a Psychic, doing way more than I'm happy with. Cynthia heals and we bring him to just above half with an Ice Beam, meaning we can't kill without losing Nidoqueen. I swap back to Persian on an Air Slash, putting us low as we go for a Fake Out the next turn. Then we take down Togekiss with a return. This leaves her last Pokemon Roserade. Kangaskhan is my switch in here on a pretty weak extrasensory too. A Fake Out flinches him and does amazing damage, and this means an Ice Punch wins us the fight. Beating Cynthia, and so far so good. Giovanni has now conquered Sinnoh. It's time to go to Unova where 2 champions await us. First up in Gen 5 is Alder, and like Cynthia, he has a wide range of Pokemon with good type variety too. While he does have some scary Pokemon for us, our move coverage is a lot better now, so I reckon we can do it. I decide to lead Dugtrio into a Selgor. We outspeed and an Aerial Ace just misses out on the knockout, as an Energy Ball has us hanging on for dear life. Alder full restores, but Dugtrio brings him to the red again with an Aerial Ace. A final Flying type attack, and that's the first Pokemon taken care of. Second, he sends out the Ice Cream Vanillux. We have limited switch-ins, but Kangaskhan is our best bet as we dodge a Blizzard on the swap. We then Fake Out, flinching the Ice Cream, and the next turn we go for a super effective Drain Punch to deal with the Ice Cream Pokemon. Alder now sends out his Dragon, Druddigon. Kangaskhan is faster, and an Ice Punch brings him low before we take some rough skin damage, then a payback hurting us. The next turn, Kangaskhan hits a final Freezing Punch to take down the Dragon, before rough skin damage puts us at below half too. Escavalier is Alder's next Pokemon, and honestly, we don't have any fire move coverage. I swap to Nidoqueen as he Giga Impacts, dealing massive damage. We then Surf once, but we only do about a quarter to him. I now swap to Rhydon as he Giga Impacts again, but we dodge it this time. Rhydon then hits an Earthquake, and thanks to it being part Steel typing, we take it out. Up next is a Buffalo Bufalon. An Earthquake is coming, so Kangaskhan is my switch in again as it puts us low. I have to stay in, so I Drain Punch, dealing great damage and healing us, which means Bufalon's next Earthquake puts us back on a sliver. We then take out the Buffalo with a final Drain Punch, and this just leaves Volcarona left. It's an easy switch into Rhydon on an Overheat who still doesn't take it that great, but his special attack stat is now reduced. Volcarona then Quiver Dances, boosting his stats as we miss a Rock Slide. He then Quiver Dances once more, but thankfully we connect the Rock Slide. This means we take down Volcarona in one hit, beating Alder, but there's still one more champion in Unova for Giovanni to face. Iris is the other champion in Unova, and the majority of her Pokemon are dragons. Usually this could be easy, but they do have solid coverage for our ground types. Iris's lead is Hydreigon, and we lead off with Dugtrio. I get Stealth Rocks up to break Haxorus's sash, and in return a Surf puts us on 7 HP. Fantastic. We then swap to Kangaskhan and take a Dragon Pulse to just above half. I then go for a Fake Out for around 25%, and the next turn we outspeed, and an Ice Punch puts Hydreigon in the red as we get hit by another Dragon Pulse, putting us low. Iris then full restores her Dragon, and we Drain Punch, doing fantastic damage and healing too. With a final Drain Punch, we take it down, and we're sitting at a relatively healthy HP. Out next is Druddigon. I stay in an Ice Punch, and we take it pretty low as it Dragon Tails us out into Dugtrio. This means Dugtrio can just outspeed an Earthquake for the knockout. Now is Lapras, a huge threat really. I swap to Persian, who seems to be great at dealing with these water types, and we take an Ice Beam, but not well. We then Fake Out, and after Stealth Rocks, it's at nearly half HP. Persian then returns, putting Lapras in the red as the Surf puts us on 5 HP in return. That was close. With a final return, we can take down Lapras, but our team is getting whittled down. Iris's next choice is Aggron. I swap to Nidoqueen and get hit by a Double Edge for a high amount of damage. The next turn, we hit a Surf to bring Aggron to 1 HP as he automizes, raising his speed. He's then faster than us, and an Earthquake puts Nidoqueen on 7 HP before we take it out. This is starting to get really close. Now Haxorus, a major threat. I go into Rhydon as we take a Dual Chop on the switch. We then get hit by an Earthquake, putting Rhydon on a small amount of HP before an Earthquake brings Haxorus low too. I only have one healthy Pokemon left, Nidoking. We swap into him and an Earthquake puts us on 14 HP. However, we can outspeed and take him out with an Earthquake. This leaves one Pokemon left, but every single one of our Pokemon are on a sliver of health. Something has to fall now. I have no choice. I go into Dugtrio and he falls graciously to an Acrobatics, putting us at our first death of the run. I now go into Kangaskhan, our highest HP Pokemon, and Fake Out to try and get it to half for Defeatus, but we don't. We then go for an Ice Punch and we outspeed, meaning an Ice Punch takes down Archeops and we beat Iris but leave behind our Dugtrio. it's time for Kalos. Diantha is the champion of Kalos and who we take on next. Our team is looking good versus hers, and in place of our Fallen Dug trio, we've added a Golem. But we do have an ace up our sleeve and a Pokemon that gives me flashbacks to the X and Y days, and that's Mega Kangaskhan. Hawlucha is her lead and we lead off with Kangaskhan. Right away we Mega Evolve, and this gives us our ability Parental Bond, allowing our attacks to hit a second time, but a little bit weaker. We fake out and just look at how much damage we do. This allows us the next turn to outspeed Hawlucha and finish him off with a return. The bulky dragon type Gudra is out next, and we go for an Ice Punch. If it was just one attack, we wouldn't take it out, but Parental Bond kicks in and our little Kangaskhan takes him out. Third is Tyrantrum. It actually takes an Ice Punch better than Gudra and survives both of our attacks, but in the red, as he misses a Head Smash. Diantha now full restores a few times until eventually she stops and we take out the T-Rex. Fourth out is Aurorus, but it's 4 times weak to fighting and we have Drain Punch. One attack from our Mega Kangaskhan obliterates the Ice Dinosaur. Fifth, Diantha chooses Galgeist. We Ice Punch and we just miss out on the knockout, meaning surprisingly Galgeist hits an attack for once and it's a Seed Bomb, but it doesn't do too much anyway. This means the next turn we can take out Galgeist, and then it leaves Diantha's last Pokemon and her ace, Gardevoir. She Mega Evolves, but she doesn't have her speed increase yet, so we are faster, and a stab boosted return destroys her, giving us a Mega Kangaskhan sweep over Diantha. It's time to set sail to Alola. How is the person we fight to become champion here at Alola, and I'm expecting this to be a very tough battle as always. We have very limited switch-ins to some of his Pokemon. I do think someone's going to fall here. How's lead is an Alolan Raichu and we lead off with Golem. It's actually a bad matchup for us, to be honest. We don't have a good one anyway into Raichu. Luckily Raichu misses a Focus Blast, so we set up Stealth Rocks for free. Raichu then connects a Focus Blast, and this brings us to our Sturdy, before we can retaliate with a super effective Earthquake to knock out How's first Pokemon. Second How chooses Leafeon, and we don't have a great swap to a Leaf Blade either, so I go into Nidoqueen as he actually just quick attacks us, which is fantastic. Leafeon then just charms us, reducing our attack, which is even better as we just take him out of a Sludge Bomb. This now brings out another huge threat in Tauros. We swap to Kangaskhan on the Earthquake and we take it to just above half. We can now fake out for a little bit of chip damage too. The next turn Tauros hits a double edge, bringing us all the way to a Slither before we can take him out of a Drain Punch and heal ourselves a little bit too in the process. Now's How's ace Incineroar. I have one Pokemon that can deal with this, and that's Rhydon. We swap into him as How decides to unleash his starter's power by going for a Z move, Inferno Overdrive, by dropping a nuke on our head. Rhydon still tanks it to just above half, which is fantastic. We then get hit by an Earthquake the next turn, putting Rhydon in the red before we unleash Rhydon's power, and we go for our Z move, Continental Crush. By dropping a huge rock on Incineroar's head, we can just obliterate it in one move too. This now brings out yet another problem, Crabominable. We can't take it out in one hit with Rhydon, and an Ice Hammer is going to kill something on my team. I have no options but to sacrifice Golem, which sucks. RIP dude. Now I need to take this thing out ASAP. I go into Persian and fake out to get off as much damage as I can. We then Iron Tail, and thankfully it looks like we do just enough to take the Ice Crab down. This leaves Hal's last Pokemon, Noivern. It's Super Fang's Nidoking, bringing us to half on the swap. We then tank a Dragon Pulse, barely hanging on with 8 HP, and Thunder Punch, but we don't take it out. But we get the lucky Paralyze. That might just be the deal breaker. We now go into Nidoqueen, who gets hit by a Dragon Pulse, taking it not too well either, and now we're faster thanks to the Paralyze. And with an Ice Beam, we take down Hal in what was an extremely hard fight. Every switch-in mattered there. Let's head on to the Switch games. The champion for the Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee games is Trace, and I always sweep him with just one Pokemon. If that Pokemon faints, it's gone. This time, we're just using our Mega Kangaskhan. We start off by Mega Evolving Kangaskhan, and Trace Mega Evolves his Pidgeot, giving us a Mega standoff, but not for long as Kangaskhan sends Bird Jesus back to the skies with a Thunder Punch. His second Pokemon, Vileplume, can't stand the heat and falls to a single Fire Punch too. Trace's third Pokemon, Marowak, can't stand the cold and falls to a single Ice Punch. Trace then sends out Rapidash. It actually survives the crunch, showing its determination, and hits a weak Flare Blitz. The next turn, we take it out with a final Chomp of our Jaws. In pure desperation, Trace sends out his starter in Ace Jolteon, hoping to turn it around, but our crunch just does massive damage as he hits a Thunder. Trace spams all the healing items he has until he starts to run low. Kangaskhan has finally had enough and finishes him off with a critical hit crunch. Trace's last hope is his trusty Slowbro, but Giovanni is just too powerful, and a Thunder Punch brings him to the red. Trace burns his last item, but it's not enough, and Giovanni claims the title of Champion of Kanto. The champion for Sword and Shield is Leon. His team is really strong, but I decided to finally evolve Rhydon, and we've swapped in Hippowdon for our Fallen Golem. Leon's lead is his Aegislash, and we lead off with our newest team member, Hippowdon. Why, you may ask? 2 words. Stealth and Rocks, as Aegislash goes for a King Shield, allowing us to get it up for free. The next turn we hit an Earthquake, and that's enough for a one-hit knockout on the Steel and Ghost type. Second is Inteleon, and we swap to Kangaskhan as Inteleon tier 4 Luxus. The next turn we fake out flinching Inteleon, then we both take chip damage thanks to Sandstorm. We headbutt to bring Inteleon to the red as a Mudshot connects, lowering our speed. Now Leon heals up his Water Star as we Drain Punch a little HP back. Inteleon's quite annoying and just spams tier 4 Luck over and over and over as we slowly whittled it down. Eventually we take a tier 4 Luck, putting us in the red before we knock out Inteleon with a headbutt. This brings out Haxorus. I decide to swap back into my Hippo as he goes for an Outrage, doing a large chunk of damage to us. We take one more Outrage before we freeze our Fangs and bite Haxorus, doing huge damage and freezing him perfect. I decide to not take any risks and go into Nidoking as he thankfully stays frozen. We then outspeed and take down the first of his dragons with an Earthquake. This brings out Mr. Rhyme, the dancing Mr. Mime. After Stealth Rock's doing 25% to him, we Iron Tail, and that's enough to stop him dancing, and we take him out. Next up, Dragapult. It's naturally faster than us, and Shadow Ball's doing okay damage as our Earthquake brings him to just a sliver. We take a final Shadow Ball before we send the Ghost Dragon back to the Ghost Realm. This leaves Leon's final Pokemon and ace Charizard. We swap to Nidoqueen as he Gigantamaxes his Charizard and then proceeds to max Airstream for a huge amount of damage, but we hold on and it raises his speed in return. I decide to Dynamax now, putting our HP up to 146, just under half. Charizard max Airstreams again, but Nidoqueen survives on 29 HP and hits a max Geyser, and that's enough to take down Charizard. And Giovanni beats Leon and claims the Galar champion title, but we have one more champion left to face. The last champion is Geeta for Generation 9, and she has some really unique Pokemon. We've had to make some swaps to our team here and added in 3 Pokemon from his black and white teams in Crocodile, Sandslash and Gliscor, keeping with the ground theme too. Geeta's lead is Espartha, and we lead off with Sandslash to give him some time to shine. Espartha's Lumina Crash really hurts our Sandslash, and we retaliate with a Shadow Claw that doesn't do enough to take the Psychic Ostrich out. We then swap to Crocodile in the next Lumina Crash, which we're immune to thanks to the Dark typing. We then outspeed and deliver a Crunch to take down her first Pokemon. On Go-Go, we swap into Gliscor. One super effective, no item acrobatics makes super short work of the goal. On Veluza, we give Persian some more time to shine. We hit a Seed Bomb and Persian's animation just looks funny. We then take a Liquidation, putting us low too. A final Seed Bomb and we take down Veluza. On Avalugg, we don't really have many answers. I go into my Hippo and get a zoomed in shot of his eyes as our Stone Edge does a little before an Avalanche does a lot back to us. I now swap to Rhyperior for the first time this run, and we eat an Avalanche much better. We outspeed the Ice Slab and critical hit a Stone Edge, and that's enough to take it down. Now Geeta sends up a powered King Gambit. We survive an Iron Head by the skin of our teeth, and of course we flinch, so we've got to switch. Into Gliscor we go. An Iron Head doesn't do as much now, thankfully. We then hit an Earthquake, bringing him low as he goes for a Cataclysm, putting Gliscor in the red too. A final Earthquake and we take down the Bisharp evolution. This leaves Geeta's last Pokemon and a race, Glamora. We have one healthy Pokemon left in Crocodile, so I swap into him as Geeta terastallizes into a pure rock type. But we are faster, and a devastating Earthquake from our Croc means we take down Glamora, defeating Geeta, defeating every single Pokemon champion as Giovanni. Or have we? Standing at the top of Mount Silver is a legendary trainer Red and a champion trainer in himself. He leads with Pikachu and we lead off with Rhyperior. We get lucky straight away and dodge an Iron Tail as we set up Stealth Rocks. Then Pikachu lands a super effective Iron Tail, hurting our Rhyperior before we retaliate with an Earthquake, taking down the first of Red's Pokemon. Next is Lapras. It's always hailing here, so we swap to Kangaskhan as we tank 100% accuracy Blizzard. We then fake out to bring Lapras close to half, and the next turn we hit a Drain Punch, putting Lapras on just a sliver as we take another Blizzard. Red full restores, but our Drain Punch rolls higher this time. We then Drain Punch again, but he survives on 1 HP, spamming Blizzards on Kangaskhan, before with a final punch we take him down. Out next is the biggest threat to my team, Blastoise. I have 0 switch-ins to this thing, I need to take it down. I decide Kangaskhan has done his work for us, and we hit a Thunder Punch for massive damage before a Focus Blast lands, and that puts us on death number 3. This means I get a free swap into Persian and finish off Blastoise with a return. Out next is Snorlax, a bulky normal type. We return and we do great damage as we eat a Blizzard. With a second return, we take down Snorlax and Persian has shown his true strength once again. Next is Charizard. It takes 50% immediately to Stealth Rocks. I misplay, instead of hitting a return, I U-turn and I go into Hippowdon as we take a critical hit Flare Blitz in return for that. After Sandstorm damage, Red full restores, but it's in vain as a Stone Edge obliterates Charizard. Red is down to his final Pokemon and we swap into Nidoking as he goes for a Sleep Powder. We double out again into Nidoqueen as we take a Giga Drain quite nicely in fact. We then shoot off a Freezing Ice Beam dealing massive damage as the next Giga Drain hurts us bad too, a final Freezing Ice Beam, and we defeat the legendary trainer Red. Team Plasma's N and a champion himself leads with a Reshiram as we lead with Crocodile. His team is weak to ground and a super effective Earthquake from our ground type demolishes his legendary. Second is Vanillix. Thankfully we connect to Stone Edge and that's enough to take down this Ice Cream Pokemon. Third N chooses Klinklang. We Earthquake and it swiftly falls, but it was in fact Zoroark and we are halfway through his team. But now we face a problem Caracosta. We swap to Rhyperior, who doesn't tank a Waterfall well at all, before we go back into Crocodile on the Aqua Jet and get off and intimidate lowering his attack. We Earthquake to bring the Ancient Turtle to his Sturdy as he hits a Waterfall that we now thankfully survive. And full restores Caracosta, but our Earthquake is decimating him. With a final Earthquake, we take down the Ancient Turtle. Now is Klinklang for real, and we swap into Nidoking as he goes for a Hyper Beam for nothing. This means Nidoking takes down the Steel Pokemon and only an Archeops stands in our way. We are faster, we hit an Aqua Tail bringing him to 1 HP as he hits a pathetic Acrobatics. We then finish the fight with a Thunder Punch and this leaves one champion left. Kieran, the most latest champion to be introduced and probably one of the most hardest. This has a focus on double battles. Can we beat every champion? Let's find out. Kieran leads off with Politoed and Dragonite with an emphasis on a rain setup here. We lead Hippowdon and Persian. Politoed's Drizzle activates, but Hippowdon's Sandstream overrides it because we are slower. That's a great thing for us. Persian throws Seeds at Politoed turn 1 for a nice bit of damage as Dragonite breaking swipes, lowering both Hippowdon and Persian's attack stat too. Politoed then goes for a Weather Ball to take Persian really low, and Hippowdon's Ice Fang doesn't do too much to Dragonite as Sandstorm damage is active. Every turn we take chip damage on no ground and rock types. The next turn Dragonite priority extreme speed Persian to take out an MVP of the run and puts at death number 4. Politoed Weather Balls Hippowdon, but it does nothing as this time an Ice Fang does a lot more to Dragonite as he's holding on with a sliver left. I now substitute in Sandslash, who has the ability Sandveil, boosting his evasiveness in Sandstorm. I then Earthquake to do big damage to Politoed as Dragonite Hurricanes taking down Hippowdon for death number 5. That was a misplay. Politoed then Ice Beams, but thanks to Sandveil we dodge it and we definitely needed that. Dragonite now falls to Sandstorm damage and this battle is pretty close so far. Kieran chooses Porygon Z next and we choose Rhyperior. Politoed now Helping Hands, boosting Porygon Z's adaptability, Life Orb, Stab boosted Hyper Beam, and that is one dead Sandslash for death number 6. As Rhyperior then connects a Stone Edge to instantly take revenge on Porygon Z. Kieran now sends out Incineroar and we send out Crocodile. Every Pokemon on the field now is intimidated at a -1 attack. Crocodile misses an Aqua Tail and Politoed then Ice Beams Rhyperior. Incineroar Brick breaks Rhyperior, putting him at below half as we connect a Stone Edge for huge damage, activating Incineroar's Berry, healing him. Crocodile picks up the knockout on Incineroar now by actually connecting an Aqua Tail, as Politoed's Ice Beam now takes out Rhyperior, putting us at death number 7, and this is really close, we're trading 1 for 1. Kieran now sends out Grimmsnarl and we send out Gliscor. This is coming down to the wire. Grimmsnarl sets up a Reflect boosting his team's defense and I set up Stealth Rocks to hurt his last Pokemon, as Crocodile's Earthquake does nothing to Grimmsnarl, but it takes out Politoed, putting us now at a final 2v2 battle. Can we win this? I terrestrialize Crocodile to the normal type, removing all weakness to Fairy, and Kieran terrestrializes his Hydrapple into a fighting type. Gliscor's boosted Acrobatics does great damage to Hydrapple, then Crocodile's Earthquake does nothing, as we take a Spirit Break decently now. Then Hydrapple hits a Fickle Beam on Gliscor, doing massive damage. We Acrobatics again Hydrapple, this time we take out his Ace, and now it's a 2-on-1. Crocodile's Earthquake is still doing nothing, as the Spirit Break puts Gliscor on his last legs. We Acrobatics again with Gliscor still doing little damage, but Crocodile's Earthquake critical hits, taking down Grimmsnarl, and with that we beat Kieran, and we beat every single Pokemon champion as Giovanni. So our total death count was 7 for this run, with the majority of them deaths coming out the hands of Kieran in a double battle. This was so much fun to do, and we really had to play around, as we was basically a mono-type ground for most of this run, but I'm happy we just about made it through. If you have any ideas on who you want to see next, leave them in the comments below. Remember to leave a like and subscribe to help the channel grow even more. As always, if you're still here watching, I appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one.